Greetings, everyone. This is Payman Lorenzo, your host of the Leaders of Hot podcast. They have another wonderful guest for you, my friend Kristi from Connecticut. We connected about a month ago, I would say, from one of the best communities in the world, the Serving Circle. We had a wonderful conversation about a month ago, just before the holidays, and we made a promise that we would get, set up a time to have a proper podcast episode because she has a beautiful story, lots to cover, very inspiring. So, in a nutshell, she's a she works with teaching human design, and she did say something that's going to be wonderful. I wasn't expecting it. She's going to do one live demonstration for me. She asked me for my birth date and all that, so I'm looking forward to that's going to be live. A little bit gift for you guys, and so she has the your energetic blueprint based on your birth date. Is what she's going to do. She's been doing. She learned. I mean, she's been doing this for about 5 years as a business. She's been learning it for the past 7 years and practicing and perfecting it. And she also worked with a publisher to release a book. She was part of co-authored, multi-authored books. Can you show us your book just briefly? We're gonna talk about it after. Love it. Stop overworking and start overflowing. Wow, amazing. So yeah, and again, and I love her. The tagline she has, just like the title of the book, "Stop overworking and start overflowing." So we're gonna talk about that. It's all gonna be about overflowing, the beautiful work she's doing in this call. So Kristi, my friend, are you welcome to the show?
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me and making this opportunity happen.
Pleasure's all mine. So as I told you last time we talked, the type of conversations I like to have on my podcast is to look under the hood to see what's in your heart, to have a heart to heart conversation, hence the name Leaders with a Heart, so that people can get to know who's Kristi as a human being first and foremost. Sure, we're going to talk about your professional achievements and all that good stuff, but what people want to know most is who is Kristi as a human being? Are you ready?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, so tell us, who's Kristi as a person, as a human being?
Multidimensional. How's that?
Oh, love that.
I know I'm evolving. That's another word I use. Getting to know myself more deeply, and human design has helped me do that, which we'll talk about. But I think at the core, I really want to help people with their evolution too, and how they evolve and transform. And I started my journey actually, I'll say even much longer ago, when I discovered yoga, and I
Wow.
was teaching fitness and wellness and was starting to teach yoga. And I just thought, wow, what a great practice to help people with their wellness and well-being. And it just grew from there. And so there's something I think really in me, more a natural like purpose and ability to want to help others on their journey. I love like discovering, new modalities and ways to do things and healing, and then share it with others and connect people who one person who may meet another. So that's really who I am, is just somebody who wants to be out and helping people.
Love that. This is the perfect place because this podcast is all about bringing people who are doing good, helping people. So,
Yeah.
loving that. So, now I'm going to ask you a series of rapid fire questions about getting to know you better. So, tell us, what makes you happy as a person?
I think being in nature and being with my cat, like
Oh,
just
yeah.
feeling like unconditional love, or just, space and freedom and adventure.
Mm. Speaking of cats, I had an amazing lady. I don't know if you know her, Bianca de Roos. She's from the Netherlands, but she lives in Australia. She has an incredible talent that she can communicate with pets. And she said that, just like as we choose our pets, they choose us as well. So
Yes.
when you were shopping for your cat, I'm sure you looked at many cats, but once you saw that specific one, did you feel a specific connection with that cat, or was it just no?
I'd say she found me.
Oh, okay.
So I actually didn't go out shopping. I just knew, I put an intention out. I
Oh,
had
okay.
previously two cats, and after both of them had passed,
Mm.
It was the first time in like 20 years I didn't have a cat. And I thought, oh, I really miss having a cat. And my husband and I just knew at some point we'd get another. And I saw an email from a friend who said someone was looking for a home for this cat. And when I saw her picture, I knew we had to go visit. And sure enough, we brought her home.
Yeah. Same thing happened to my sister and her husband. They were looking for a dog and they spent a week just looking at many dogs. And as soon as my sister saw this particular one, this golden retriever, she knew it that this is the one. And they both have the same personality. It doesn't bark. It's very playful, but very quiet, very respectful. Now is a big boy and has become the mascot of the family. We love it. I love him to death. Each time I go to my sister's house, he comes to play with me. At first, I wasn't a dog guy, but now this big boy now has made me completely fall in love with him. So,
Nice.
wow, that's awesome. Now, tell us, what makes you smile?
Oh, I feel like that's the same question. Whatever makes me happy makes me smile. But doing something like this, having these conversations, knowing that maybe someone out there is going to listen and maybe be inspired. And I think it's also just really the energy that I can sense between somebody who wants to find out about human design or who wants to talk about it, or when we just seem to be in similar mindsets. I really appreciate that.
Awesome. Now let's take the happiness factor a couple of notches even higher. What makes you come alive? What makes your heart sing?
Possibility and hope. I really know that, especially in the last few years, we've faced things that are so different.
Oh yes.
But I just keep saying, we're evolving, we're moving forward, we're breaking down systems that maybe don't work any longer. We're recalibrating, focusing differently, rebuilding. So that kind of gets me excited and really makes me feel hopeful.
Awesome. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, what makes you sad and angry?
I really think sometimes it's my own, perhaps negative feelings. Like sadness creates more sadness. I think too, knowing that fear exists, not just for everyone, but when I feel fear or anger, I know that is a good indicator for me to sort of look more closely at what is going on, but it doesn't feel good. And I want fear to not drive my decisions. I want to come to more neutral place or to a positive place so that when I take steps forward, it's not out of fear. But I do understand it's important to feel fear and to understand what's behind it.
How do you do that? Do you do that through meditation to not make decisions based on out of fear? That would be something valuable for people to know.
Yeah, I don't think there's one magic way. However, I've done, again, different modalities and practice different things. And a couple of the things that resonate for me right now, I think this changes. Maybe what worked for me a few years ago is different now. And what one person may use may be different than mine. But I really am enjoying breath work, which helps on a cellular level to shift sort of the things that we're holding on to, some of the fear-based habits. I've done tapping, which I really enjoy, emotional freedom tapping, EFT. And I also enjoy something called the method, which is a way for like understanding how we feel and then shifting to self-love and connection to divine. And so I do some of those practices, spiritual practices, which really do help me.
So love that. Thank you for sharing that. Now, what scares you?
The unknown, uncertainty. I think that's why I balance it out with some hope. I think not knowing what's ahead and knowing I have to trust, it's a little scary to do that.
Yes. Now, tell us, what is your number one personal superpower?
Teaching. I have enjoyed teaching yoga for almost 20 years, and now I'm teaching human design. And that's always been just a natural part. I think that's why I love speaking and presenting and, leading workshops or retreats, so that I can teach and help people understand a subject matter in a nice, basic way, instead of this. Sometimes things can get complicated, or I like to just help people understand things in that teaching format.
Awesome. Thank you. Now, you love traveling, right?
I do enjoy traveling. Haven't done a lot of it lately, but I do. I have family overseas.
What was the very first trip you took?
The first trip, besides like an annual trip to Maine, because that's a couple hours from where I live, the first big trip I remember was going to Walt Disney World.
Wow, that's a good place to go. Now,
Yeah.
let me take you on a different type of trips down memory line. Go back to when you're a young girl. When we're kids, people ask us around us, family, friends, teachers. So, Kristi, what do you want to become when you grow up? What was your answer as a young girl?
I wanted to become a dancer.
Oh,
I
really?
would take, ballet and jazz and tap. And I remember having this like silver dance shoe. It was like something I put on a shelf, and it was just this like sculpture, and I loved it. I just felt like that represented who I was or was going to become. And I really still enjoy dancing, but I never became professional at it. But that was always what I thought I would grow up to be.
Mhm. So, as a young girl, what was your relationship with school? Did you like school? Did you not like school? Were you a good
I was
student?
pretty good at school. I
Okay.
was in a gifted program, so I
Oh, wow.
enjoyed doing things that were unique. But I am glad that I no longer have to study or write papers or make projects and presentations. So I'm glad it's over. But at the time, I think I enjoyed it. I think I liked learning. And again, that led to some of my teaching.
Sure. What was your favorite subject?
I really enjoyed Spanish, learning another
Really?
language. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a fun teacher, and she was
Yes,
my teacher for about 4 years
that's
in high
important.
school. And she even took us all on a senior year on a trip to a Spanish restaurant so we could try some food. So it was
Wow.
a fun class.
You mentioned something very powerful. The roles teachers can play can really make or break. For example, I used to be good in math, and at grade 6, I grew up in France. I had a teacher that I don't know, his way of teaching didn't resonate with us, and as a result of that, I completely phased out, and I was never after that paid any attention to math. So now, what was the one subject you could not stand?
Wasn't really a big chemistry fan.
Okay.
And I think part of it, and God bless the
Was it
person who
because you
is
blew up
trying to
something?
teach us.
You blew up
No,
something in a class?
that
Poof.
probably would have made it fun.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
I think I had a teacher that just had a tough time like connecting with the students, and it was a tough class because
Yeah.
I don't think anyone knew how to pay attention or follow him or understand the topic, but that was the one that I felt like was a little challenging.
All right.
I also didn't like dissecting things, but that was
Oh,
biology.
yes. Especially the frogs, poor frog. Why do we have to do this to the poor frog? But he's dead. So what? Doesn't
I
matter.
had to dissect a pig. It was
Oh my
awful.
God. The whole pig or just a part of it?
It was a like tiny one.
Oh no, I could not do that.
Yeah,
I
it
would
was.
faint. I would have fainted.
Yeah, I don't like to talk about it.
My family wanted me to become a doctor, but at the slightest, sight of blood, I would faint, and I would still to this day, I would tell you, okay, you can cut my arms, but I don't want anything going inside of me. I can't stand it. I just pass out.
Yeah.
So now let's move forward. Tell us, what was your very first job?
Paper route, paper girl. And
Ah,
I was a paper girl of the month one time also, but I used to have a couple of paper routes. Yeah.
oh, nice, cool. Now let's talk about your path from the moment you left college to now. How would you describe your path? Would you say it was pretty much straightforward once you get into one lane? Was pretty much straightforward? Was it like turns and twists, like a roller coaster?
Hmm. I know it can be so different for everybody. I think mine was pretty linear. I went to school. This is part of the story in the book. I went to school and learned, study hard, graduate, go to college, study hard, and
What did you
get a
major
good
in
job.
college?
So I majored in communications, and really my first few jobs out of college were in that field. And it was in 2020 when I finally, I would say, retired from that part. But so it was linear. I had one job and then led to another job. And then the last job I had was 20 years in marketing and communications. So I did take what I studied and applied it, really enjoyed it. And I was in the nonprofit sector too. So I always liked that helping, a place or an organization that was helping others, helping the community.
Yeah. You mentioned something a few minutes ago. You said you loved learning languages. So you mentioned Spanish. Any other languages that you learned along the way?
Yes, I know Polish.
Wow, polyglot. Awesome. Well, so Polish, Spanish, English, any others?
And human design.
Oh, we'll talk about that in a
We'll talk
moment.
about
That's
that more.
awesome. Awesome. So were you able to use any of your language skills in any of your jobs or careers before that? Especially in communication or anything like that?
No, I haven't. And you know what? One thing I always thought would be interesting is I've taught yoga for many years. And even when I traveled, sometimes I taught yoga like in Ireland or in Canada.
Wow.
I've been to places where I taught a little bit, but I always wondered what it would be like to teach yoga in another language. That I didn't really do.
You know, that's a challenge. Just do it. You
Yeah.
know, if you need Spanish would be probably the easiest one, I would say. And if you need, just get a translator, which shouldn't be hard because I'm pretty sure you can have a Latino or Latina student in
Right.
class that would be very happy to help you,
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Now, tell us, I'm sure you heard the saying, change your story, change your life. And by story, I mean what we keep on telling ourselves on a daily basis. So when
Hmm.
you, Kristi, had to change your story either to change your life or bring your life to where you wanted to be, how did you do it? Did you do it through the help of friends, families, mentors, videos, books? So tell us the process you used to change your story, to change your life.
Well, I know I said I like teaching, but I also like learning. And so looking for or coming across things that could teach me was always important. Like yoga was one. And then I started to come to understand about healing and different modalities, mindset work, beliefs, changing how we look at things or even the words that we choose so that what we manifest comes from this place of what we truly want, not what we don't want. So I always picked up things from other teachers. I loved attending retreats or programs to also learn from others. And I was always, what do you call it? Lifelong. I still am the lifelong student.
Yes. I have a saying that real education starts the moment you leave school. And that is so true.
Yes, definitely. I've learned so much from the
Uh,
life journey.
Absolutely. Now, I know you're a spiritual person. At what point did you realize that you have your spirit, that you realize that you're a spiritual being and that you had your spiritual awakening?
Mm,
Was it something gradual? Was it a specific
yeah,
event in your life or what?
it would definitely, I'd say it was gradual. And, religion was always part of my upbringing. So there are some roots there. And I always say that I owe some of my passion for wellness also from my family and what my parents did for their health and well-being. Um, and finding or taking a yoga class was also part of that pivotal time because I started to understand more about myself instead of looking for answers outside. I knew, sitting, breathing, meditating could help me connect to answers from within me, even if it was from a higher place. So I think that journey, it wasn't like the first class, but I would say the journey of taking those classes led me down this more of the spiritual path for myself to evolve and to start exploring when I was learning, exploring other ways that spirituality exists.
Awesome. Yeah, we all get, some of us a specific event. It can be a near-death experience. I've had quite a few of those on my podcast. Or it can
Mm,
be a deep gut feeling, knowing that they've been suppressing for a long time. And finally they say, okay, let me actually listen to that. And when they do, their entire perception changes. That's actually what happened to me. I was never religious, but I was always believed in God. And since the pandemic started, I had my spiritual awakening, and that's been a complete life-changing transformation. So I used to be like any person out there, always after money, profit, and all that. But then after that, I changed completely, and I base everything from now on not on money but on impact. So when I ever look at a
mhm.
business or anything, the first thing I look at and the first question I ask is, what is the impact this is having now? Or what is the impact this will have as a
Yeah.
result of me being involved? And if the impact is not there, I won't even bother with the financials, because when you focus on impact, guess what? The money is going to take care of itself. You don't have to worry about the money. You don't have to chase anyone. They're going to come to you. You just project your message out there, and we are, antennas, receptors, and the universe is going to bring it to you. This is what
Yes,
I learned. Yeah.
I totally agree. And my word instead of impact is flow. How
Mhm.
can I get in a flow state? How can I flow and know that things are gonna, what flows out also flows in.
Totally, absolutely. I love that. Now, that's a great segue. Let's talk about your business. What are you doing now? What kind of beautiful impact you're having in the world right now?
So I am enjoying teaching human design, which is fairly not known for most people. Probably, if you've heard of human design, welcome to the club. If you haven't, it's your energetic blueprint based on your birth date. And so I discovered this about 5, 6 years ago, and just kind of was learning about it, understanding it, and then started a business fully in 2020. And it started by somebody asking me to talk about human design and share it with others. So I did. And then people wanted to know more. So I started to help people understand and interpret what's called a human design chart. So that's really the core of my business right now, is talking about it, sharing it, and even putting it out in a book.
It's funny how things start. Sometimes we start life-changing path without even wanting it. It's either because somebody asks us, like for example, this podcast. I didn't want to start this podcast, but people asked me, well, I did want to start a podcast, but then I wasn't kind of willing. But anyways, a lot of things, even the business I'm in right now, which is helping artists and entrepreneurs, launch their podcast. I wasn't, when I started my podcast, I had no plan on turning that into a business. But because I've had so many people reach out to me and ask me, hey, can you help us launch our podcast? At first I say, okay, I would just send them some videos, some books. But they said, no, we want you to teach us. So okay. Then I said, okay, let me do it. And I just did last month. It was really fun. So yeah, this is a point, because sometimes we have skills or talents that we take for granted, because for us it's second nature. But when people see us and talk, hey, you're amazing at that. Why don't you do that? And I've seen that so many times around me. So yeah.
Yeah, and there's a reason for it. I can help you understand why, because in human design, without getting into so much of the detail, I think of it as we are connecting to the energy that's most natural for us, or a way of doing things. And when we feel good, we actually are like a magnet and attract these opportunities. 70% of us, especially, have this energy within us that is meant to attract, so we can respond.
Wow.
And when we do that, I know, I'm sure many people can agree that is a flow state. It's so much easier when you are responding something instead of forcing it to happen,
Oh yeah.
right? So you say yes, it feels good, you want to do it, and then all of a sudden here you've got this podcast, and it feels good to be doing that and putting it out in the world. There's a lot of impact. So you're like in your flow state, in your purpose.
Totally. Absolutely. Now, who would you say is your ideal client?
I like to work with busy women entrepreneurs who, like me, work probably caught up in doing a lot of things. And I did have a side business that I felt like I was working really hard at, and things just weren't growing the way that I wanted them to. Or what I realize now is I didn't have space in my life to do things like self-care. And so I really enjoy working with women who are busy and on a spiritual path or self-growth, where they want to make some shifts in their lives to help them connect to more fun, more abundance, more ease and flow. Because that's what I went through. I went through a period of time where, before knowing human design, now after that, things have shifted so much, and I want to help others in that same way. So busy entrepreneurial women is usually or busy spiritual entrepreneurial women is one of my niches.
Tell us about the structure of your program. Is it like a one-on-one, small classes? Is it a video? Is it a coaching program? Is it a course? And what is the length of it? Like, let's say a woman is currently listening to this, watching this, considering it. How long would it take for her, once she joins your program, to actually see results? Tell us about all the good stuff, the structure of your program.
Well, where I first start is I have a one-on-one with somebody to help them understand the human design chart and design that they are. You can go on Google and you can input your birth date and come out with this chart, but it's complicated or complex, and it's helpful to talk with someone about it. So I have two sessions actually that I will review a chart with somebody, and then I offer them the opportunity for that continued support. And I have a membership group so that they can come into that container and start to explore and understand, well, what do I do with this information? How does it impact me on a daily basis? And so we talk about that. We have this membership group, and there's no set period of time. I would say it's really sort of like self-study. So the more that you put into it, I think the more that you see the results. So some women, for example, I've heard that they make these little shifts in their energy and how they're operating, their choices. And suddenly they've got more downtime and ease and flow and self-care, and their income has increased. So just this correlation between what are you doing for yourself on a daily basis to align your energy? How are you showing up? How are you being authentic? Because human design helps you understand your true self, who you are, who you were meant to be, not just who you were not meant to be. And so the timing is varies, I think, for the person. But I would say too that if you haven't ever heard of human design, I do also offer once a month intro to human design webinar. Anybody can come on. We have conversation like this where I give a little overview of human design and then a little reading so that people can, just dip their toes in it and decide if this is something they want to explore.
So at the end of the call, I will ask you for all your links so we can put it on the show notes. So we'll get into that. Now, you mentioned the transformation. Let's talk about that. So share with us, if you will, an example of the most remarkable transformation you've seen from one of your clients so far.
I think they all have been in their own way, but I remember one person saying to me after we did a reading, she said, I took some downtime. I took more time to do self-care. And she said, quote, I had my first $10,000 month.
Wow. Because
she shifted from the energy of trying to work hard and make something happen. And she shifted to more of responding, taking care of herself, showing up in a way that was more authentic and less stressed. And then the right opportunities for her business to grow happened. And it's about energy. And again, like that idea of that we're all a magnet. And again, depending on your type, because there are different energy types in human design. So it helps guide you in, well, what do you need to do? What do you need to shift in for this particular person? She did some of that self-care and stepped back from the business in some sense, so that it could grow and evolve. And it was remarkable. She said within a month it changed for her.
Phenomenal. I can imagine. You know, the greatest reward in anything you're doing in your business, at least as far as I'm concerned, is a transformation you see unfolding in front of your eyes of a person. I've seen that in my businesses, and you just give a perfect example. So that's wonderful. Now, you mentioned initially that you want to do my reading, so let's do that.
Yeah, we can take a look at your chart and explain it a
Yes.
little bit through the lens of your birth date. So I want to say again, human design is your energetic blueprint based on your birth date. And I used an online website, which you can find. There are various ones to just put in your birth date. And we know that in human design, 70% of the population are a type called the generator. And you and I are both generators. And I've kind of been talking a little bit about this, but the generator type is here to respond. They don't need to initiate and try to make things happen. It will take more effort. And if you're doing it too much, will lead to things like burnout or overwhelm and frustration. We know as a generator, and this is again for most of the population, that when we're doing the right kind of work, it doesn't even feel like work. But we have this, I call it a large battery that is here to do the work every day, to have impact, but to be doing the right kind of work is really important. So if you were a generator, for example, and felt like you weren't doing the right kind of work, you would also feel frustrated, stressed, burned out, and just not in alignment. So I would guess you're a generator and you're probably doing the right kind of work. Do you feel that you are in the right flow?
Oh, yes. Especially now that I've found, you know, the podcast has been the greatest blessing. The greatest gift the podcasting is giving me was to find my voice finally and stop chasing my tail and go all in one thing. And the podcasting, I
Yeah.
would say that's the greatest thing I've been blessed with.
Yeah. And things may shift. There may be new
Oh,
opportunities
yes,
that come
absolutely.
in the future. I know for me, I had a 20-year marketing career. When I started, I had such love for the work and showing up, and things seemed so in alignment, and then things shifted and I ended up stepping into more of this personal growth and development. But I'm back to this place of like everything seems to flow and it's just the right kind of work. So that's really important for, again, about 70% of the population, and tuning into that. If you feel like you're overworking, you may not be operating in that correct energy. The other thing I would say about generators is it's important you get like 30 minutes of exercise a day. You
Yes.
go to sleep when you're tired, because things like that can really affect our health. So that's just a little advice sometimes I give to people when we do a reading. And the other thing I'll say about your chart, so there's 2 billion combinations, and we started with your type, which is sort of like the car model that you're driving. And you've got this big battery to drive that car. But when we look under the hood or inside, you're still unique. Your blueprint is different than others. And something that stands out for me, for example, is that you have a lot of energy centers. They're kind of like chakras in the body that bring in or amplify energy from around you. You can get inspired. You can pick up other people's energy and ideas. Sometimes they're positive emotions as well as maybe negative emotions. But it's really important for you in your design payment, when you have these open centers and you have 6 out of 9, that you take time to clear those centers. And sometimes taking alone time or downtime is important. And that's actually a great time for you to work on yourself or to be creative. And do you ever spend any time sort of alone and feel like that was good to just step away and be on your own?
Yes, I know I need to do that, but lately I've been so busy that I haven't been able to do that. But I know I need to do that. Yeah, especially I love reading. I haven't been able to read in a while, and I know I need to get into meditation, but I haven't been able to do so. But I am perfectly aware of that. Yes.
Yeah, and it's that balance because generators typically like to be busy, and we just are always responding through the day, doing different things. And we can be, but even self-care and time for yourself is still part of that routine, and it gives balance to some of the work that we do, sometimes giving away our energy or taking on others that we really need to just release and kind of clear. And everyone's design is just beautiful the way it is. In human design, I say there's no right or wrong. Your design never changes. There's nothing you need to fix. And sometimes it's actually the way you're built is meant to complement somebody else's. So sometimes I can even run charts to show that how you complement your partner or a family member.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
you mentioned generators being about 70% of the population. What are the other type of people available?
yeah, great question. So about 70% are generators or manifesting generators, which is a subset. The other 30% may make up projectors, which is 20% of the population, manifestors, which are about 9%, and the rare 1% reflectors. And I'm going to explain how the difference.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think of us like in an ecosystem, the manifestor type is actually built to initiate and create. They have this very powerful energy. And so if they're here to initiate and create, the generator is here to respond, follow through, and kind of bring completion to something. The projector types that I mentioned are here to guide and provide wisdom. They're the ones who may step back or look at things from a bigger standpoint and say, well, are we headed in the right direction? Is this having the impact we want? And then you have the rare reflector type that is here to really help reflect back. Is this the right thing? How is our community, the health of our community, the purpose that we all have? They really are here to reflect back, and having each of these types is so key to supporting each other because we're not all built the same way, and we have different strengths, as we know. But for example, oftentimes in society, we're programmed or conditioned to be a certain way, to be like somebody else. So the generators are often programmed to be like a manifester. Go out, especially entrepreneurs, go out and make things happen. Put your nose to the grindstone, get on that hamster wheel and just, work until you climb the ladder. And that's where burnout happens because 9% of the population really have a different kind of energy to initiate, while generators are here to respond. So that's a little bit of the difference, and really some important information that I usually say in reading to help people, again, find their flow, find the alignment.
Love that. And I'm so glad I'm recording this because I want to rewatch this and take notes because this is wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. Now, let's switch topic. Let's talk about cause. The theme of this podcast is, impactful cause-driven businesses. What would you say is a cause that is dear to your heart?
I think one of the things coming up is that support for the next generations. And I know this is kind of a broad cause. I've always been involved in also like women's causes. And I think part of that too is because women are here to help guide. And we obviously, many of them, not me, but many have children. And I think our attention and focus on how do we create a community and society and structures that help support that future. I'm part of Generation X, and I know one time I heard like, we're here to help pave the path so that they can come in and help, solve some of the bigger issues of the world. So that's important to me. And again, women's groups and supporting women and evolving has always been important to me too.
Awesome. Love that. Now, listen, Kristi, I love talking to you. We can talk for hours, but let's start wrapping this up. Let me ask you to finish a series of rapid fire questions on advices. Ready?
Okay. Yes.
What would you say has been so far the best piece of advice you've received?
Sometimes just put your head down and stay in your lane, go forward, pay attention to your next steps, try not to worry about everything else.
Love that. And what would you say has been so far the worst piece of advice you've received?
Oh, oh, that's hard.
Get a job.
You can't make everybody happy.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Awesome. Now, imagine that you were blessed with a time machine and you can go back in time and sit face to face with an 18-year-old Kristi, knowing all that you know now. What would be the number one piece of advice you would give to her?
Oh, I love these kind of questions. Just that there's so much more that she's going to evolve into, and to trust that the story will continue to be written. It will not end. And I even say that to myself as I move into my next decade of life, that
Yes.
yeah, I have a lot more to look forward to, a lot more wiser to become.
Love that. Now, do you have your own podcast?
I don't. I enjoy being on podcasts though.
Okay. And imagine that you have your podcast today and you're interviewing the most special person in the world, which is yourself. So, what's the first question you want to ask yourself? Don't think too much. What is the first question that comes to your mind?
I really enjoyed the first question that you said, which is, tell us who you are. I really enjoy like wanting to know from a person's perspective, what's inside of them.
Okay. All right. Now, if someone wants to connect with you, what's the best way to do so? Give us all your links and all that.
Yeah, thank you. My website is like my name, Kristi, Kristih, Sullivan.com. And I have that same handle on Instagram, Kristi H. Sullivan. And I'm on Facebook a lot. And I have a Facebook group for people to join if they're interested. It's facebook.com/groups/Kristi H. Sullivan. And it's called Kristi's Human Design and Self-Care Community. And that's where I usually do most of my posting, although I'm starting to get a little more active on Instagram.
Awesome. And show us one more time your book.
Yes. This is on
Time to
Amazon.
talk about it. So, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is on Amazon as well as on my website. It's a book written with 25 other human design practitioners talking about their story, so people can understand how it changed their lives.
Awesome. Fantastic. Now, you mentioned also you have a monthly event that you're doing. Do you want to give us the link for that?
Yes, I will say it's usually posted in my Facebook group. It's called Intro to Human Design, and it's usually the last Wednesday at noon every month, noon, that's Eastern time. So I host it on Zoom, and I will make sure to put the link in the show notes too.
Awesome. Wonderful. Listen, Kristi, it's been an absolute blast talking to you. Love what you're doing, especially, and I love learning about new things that you're doing, like human design. I really appreciate that. I'm so glad I recorded this. I'm going to be watching again and take notes. And I'm going to dive deeper into what is exactly a generator, because you said I'm a generator, so I want to learn more about that. So thank you for that. I salute you. You're a true leader with a heart. Stay safe, stay awesome. God bless
Thank
you, my
you.
friend. We'll definitely stay in touch. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.